Why are you the right person to be LA's next mayor?
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I'll say that on June 7th, in just a few months, Angelinos will be asked to vote for their next mayor of Los Angeles at a time when the average home is $1 million, or the average apartment is over $2,600 to rent. At a time when college students are living in their cars, wondering if they can live in a city that they love. At a time when an eviction moratorium is the only thing standing between many Angelinos keeping a roof over their head or living out in the streets. I think the question is very simple and clear. What kind of city do we want? Do we want an LA that works only for the super wealthy and the elite, or a city that works for people like us, working people, middle-class people? I'm a doer. I work hard. I keep my nose to the grindstone. I keep my head down, and I fight like hell for everything that we've accomplished. For me, it's never been about just being a good vote or being a good Democrat. It's about using my power to solve major problems, taking on challenges no other Democratic politician would even touch, to get things done for working families. And that's why I have a track record of getting things done and leading on issues that weren't necessarily popular at the time, but eventually became part of our political lexicon. I made California the largest economy in the world to legally commit itself to 100% clean renewable energy. I made California a sanctuary state, even got sued by the Department of Justice. I tackled ghost guns before ghost guns was even a thing. I negotiated the minimum wage, $15 an hour. I made California the largest and the first state in the nation to be sanctuary state. The city of LA is home to the largest number of immigrants in the United States of America. When I was, when I was a legislator, the areas I represented informed my decision-making as a policymaker in Sacramento. The fact that Bow Heights is one of the largest concentrations of Latino immigrants anywhere in the country, that's why I moved Senate Bill 54. It's about leadership on the issue of homelessness. I have the largest concentration of unhoused individuals anywhere in the city, anywhere in the country, except for 3 cities: New York, LA in the aggregate, and Chicago. I'm about action and doing what's right for the people I represent. If that means authoring and drafting 3 ballot initiatives, Prop 39, Prop 2, and Prop 68, so be it. That means going back and forth to Washington, D.C. on my own dime to rally for retirement security or immigration reform, so be it. That means fighting Wall Street, even then Attorney General Jeff Sessions, so be it. I would say in conclusion, LA needs an activist mayor because these are not normal times. Someone who takes big, bold ideas and actually turns them into action. I believe in the power of this great city and what this city has to offer, but only with the right leadership.
What would be your first action to address the city's homelessness crisis?
Oh, well, we're going to accelerate. That's what I'm doing right now. And we're going to accelerate our 20 by 25 by 25,000 plan by bringing in the general managers. We're actually doing this right now as we speak, but we're going to accelerate that.
What's the status of that?
The 25 by 25,000 plan, it was voted on last year.
But what's the status? February. What's the status of that?
The status is all the departments are working that out right now. As we speak right now, I've asked them how we're going to execute it, how we're going to roll it out specifically. It is a combination of both interim housing as well as permanent supportive housing. And the reason why the 25 by 25 plan was very critical for the city of LA is I don't think we actually had an overarching master plan with regards to dealing with the large unhoused community that we have on our city streets today. It was akin to perhaps, walking blindly in the middle of the desert. Without a roadmap, without a plan, specifically how many units we're going to build, and specifically by when are we going to build them, and how they can hold us accountable. So right now, the planning department, building safety department, as well as LADWP are to submit specifically back to the city council the roadmap of how we're going to actually execute this plan as we speak.
I thought that the 25,000 were all going to be permanent housing units. They're not?
No, it's going to be a combination, Carla, of both interim as well as permanent supportive housing.
How much will be permanent supportive housing?
Well, obviously the majority is going to be permanent supportive housing.
What's your sense of where will it be land-wise and who's paying for it?
Land-wise, that's what we're looking for right now, because I don't believe we have the luxury to be waiting for private land, and because oftentimes we lose out because private, market developers have much more money than we do. to purchase those
Right.
lands. And if in fact, if we do purchase the lands, oftentimes it's going to be very, very expensive. I do believe strongly, and I've said this from day one, we should be utilizing government taxpayer owned land, whether if it's city, whether it's county, whether it's state, or whether it is federal lands. We can eliminate the cost altogether if in fact we're going to build, but also do its adaptive reuse, which are buildings that are already in existence that we could purchase. Hotels, I purchased 2 hotels. For those who are familiar with the community of El Sereno on Huntington Drive, we talked about this, Carla, I had a mile-long encampment. I was sworn in October 15th of 2020, 2 months earlier, due to the trials and tribulations of my predecessor. And 1 week thereafter, I submitted a motion. I purchased 2 hotels, and on December 28th, I closed escrow. On March of 2021 of last year, I got the whole mile-long encampment into what is home key, but we're converting that home key into permanent housing. So those 2 hotels will actually be now permanent housing. And I don't believe, Carla, I don't believe interim is the panacea. So I want to underscore that.
What's the right size of the Los Angeles Police Department force and why?
I think the right size is the current size to the number we're budgeted up to. I don't believe we have to increase the budget. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood that had its fair share of violent crime. So I know what it feels like to feel violent, to feel unsafe. The most important job of mayor is to make sure that every Angelino is safe. But before we get into hiring thousands of more police officers or hundreds of more police officers, we have to get our own house in order, which means that we have to better utilize our resources today in a much more effective and efficient manner. That's when I said earlier, we have our own LAPD officers dealing with the issues of mental health, dealing with the issues of homelessness, dealing with the issues of drug overdoses. They shouldn't have to be on the front lines. They need to be solving and preventing crime. And if we can have better response times by taking those responsibilities, not just rhetorically, and I know a lot of folks that talk about that, but operationally, taking them those responsibilities off their shoulders, they can start dealing with the issues of crime in a much more effective manner.
I'd like to ask you about the recall of District Attorney George Gascon. Do you support that?
The recall of District Attorney Gavin Gascon, I don't support the recall. I do believe that I've been a strong believer that recalls should only be utilized if there are very severe allegations of high crimes. You know, short of that, doesn't make a difference if you're on the left or the right or in the middle, points in between. We have an election, process, which are, when candidates or when, elected officials are up for election, then the voters themselves can determine the future of that individual. So I know that there's a lot of controversy at this moment surrounding Mr. Gascon for many of the policies he has set forth.
So where are you on those? Where are you on those policies? Do you support or oppose any of the particular policies?
No, this is the way I would say it, Robert. I do believe that we have an opportunity to move forward with criminal justice reforms and disrupt the prison to the school to prison pipeline that have put so many young men and women, particularly young men of color, in our correctional facilities, whether it be San Quentin, whether it be Pelican Bay, whether it be Vacaville, Folsom, or elsewhere. But at the same time, I do recognize also too, someone who has kidnapped a child, sodomized a child, tortured a child, and left him for dead or killed that child. Those individuals shouldn't be covered in a huge, blanket, if you will. We don't live in a world of absolutes. So we can also deal with criminal justice reforms for the vast majority of folks who, quite frankly, have been unfairly, sentenced with, higher, longer years with the enhancements, either because you've had a weapon or because you're affiliated with a gang. There are many young men and women who have an opportunity to be rehabilitated if we provide that opportunity. However, there are a group of individuals who, quite frankly, have committed such heinous crimes, they should not be having any enhancements reduced.
Would you as mayor appoint Police Chief Moore to a second 5-year term?
I think that, if I have the honor to be the mayor of the great city of Los Angeles, I'll be reviewing every position of, at the highest level, and I'll be making that determination then and there.
Okay. What's an example of something you've done that wasn't popular, but was the right thing to do?
I think the issue, I made reference to it, several times. Two things. One is Sanctuary State. I got sued by the Department of Justice, then Attorney General Jeff Sessions. We went to the U.S. Supreme Court in 2020. They ruled in my favor. I had the 58 counties sheriffs strongly oppose me. I had our very own sheriff, LA County, then Sheriff Jim McDonnell, lead the charge to oppose me. It was not popular, even with some of my own colleagues. But I felt like you don't trade your values when you come from immigrant family. It's who you are. Two is when at El Pueblo, when we started engaging outreach with our unhoused neighbors to put a roof over their head and get them into Hotel Grand Hotel off Figueroa Street. There were so-called activists out there that were trying to persuade our unhoused neighbors to actually stay physically, on the sidewalk and continue to live there until we came up with a permanent, solution. I thought that was wrong. I thought that was immoral. I thought that ran counter to what our goals are, to get folks off the street, to provide the interim housing and then move them into permanent housing. So, I said something about it. There was a huge backlash. My phone number got, they put my phone number on Twitter. My phone number got blown up, into pieces, as you can imagine. But it was the right thing to do, because if you're on the left or right, it doesn't matter. Folks want action. They want folks off the street with a roof over their head. You can't let the perfect get in the way of the good.
Excellent. Now these are getting to one-word answers. Should Los Angeles tax $1 million real estate transactions to raise money for affordable housing? Yes or no?
I'm open to it.
So that's a yes?
I'm open to it. No, I said I'm open to it. I'm sorry, I can't answer the question the way you want. The answer, that's the Triple H Junior, I got concerns on how it's executed and rolled out. So I'm open to it.
Roughly, what's the median income for a household in Los Angeles?
The median income in Los Angeles for a household is roughly, I think off the top of my head, about 65,000, 70,000.
Close, 72,000. Excuse me, 62,000.
Yeah, 62. Okay.
Metro is considering enacting congestion pricing on local roads and freeways to reduce gridlock and fund more transit or even free transit. Would you support a congestion pricing pilot project in Los Angeles? Yes or no?
I'm open to it, Carrie. And the reason why is I want to make sure that the poor are not disproportionately impacted because they don't have the financial wherewithal due to congested pricing to be paying out of the pocket. So I'm open to the idea as long as the poor are not adversely impacted.
Mayor Garcetti set a goal of eliminating traffic deaths by 2025, but he hasn't followed through and traffic deaths have increased. Would you commit to make Vision Zero a reality during your tenure as mayor? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Digital billboards, would you support having more, the same number as now, or fewer?
Same.
All right. Excellent. That's it. Thanks for taking the time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for your consideration as well.